Welcome to Ron's Workbench. Hi, I'm Ron. Welcome back to my workbench. In this week's episode, Rust Never Sleeps, we're going to continue on with the Miracle Chair build. And before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to Dave Honstein, my friend over at Sparky 107107. Please go check out Sparky's channel. Great channel, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sparky does a live stream. A lot of fun, good people over there. He is currently running a contest for 2 locomotives, N-Scale or HO. If you go over and if he gets 100 viewers online during his live stream, he's going to be giving one of those locomotives away. So you want to go over and check them out. In this episode, we're going to continue on with the build. We have left the small roof that goes over this small portion. I decided to make that roof a corrugated metal roof. Now this is a corrugated paper that I got from Casey's Workshops. I ordered this when I ordered the shingles that I did the beginning of the roof is. It's a very nice paper. It's got a nice corrugation to it. Has a shiny silver side and the other side is a white, and it does not have as deep a groove on it. So we're going to use this paper. We're going to make some small corrugated metal panels, and with that we're going to use this, which is AK Rust Effects colors. First time using these. We're going to see how they turn out. I've seen a lot of people use them and it's a pretty easy system. And I'll do a close-up on this, but here is a test that I did with it already. So with that, we'll get started. We'll build us a roof and we'll rust it up. Before we get started, I'll show you what I've done so far. And I'll take some close-up videos of these, some pictures I'll be showing right now. These are some of the metal castings that came with the kit. There are 2 exhaust ducts and a small dust collector. I gave them a primer of just a gray Krylon acrylic primer, let those dry. I then went over them using Folk Arts metallic gunmetal acrylics. Okay, I gave them a base coat of that. Then I went over with the Rust Effects on the exhaust ducts, and I'll use that on the dust collector as well. So let's talk about the Rust Effects. The Rust Effects come with a 6-step process. Okay. Starting with a light rust, a medium rust, dark rust, old rust, a shadow rust, and a chipping effects. So if you were going to heavily rust something, basically you would start with lighter and then build up your colors as you're going along. Now, let's turn to the paper I'm going to be using. So this is, again, a corrugated sheet paper that I got from Casey's Workshops. I sprayed this with a Krylon Color Master primer of gray. It's got a little bit of shine to it because I wanted to keep some semblance of like an actual metal color to it. So I sprayed that first, and then, like I said, here is a test of one of the pieces I did, and I used all 6 steps in this. Started with the light rust at the top, kept working it down, applying each different layer, and then I used the chipping effects on the edges of each sheet. Now when I cut this sheet is I was just doing it for a test, but this sheet actually is a little small for this roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to lay this out. And what I'm going to do is I am going to trace around the edge of this, giving myself a little bit of an overlap. So we'll cut out one piece, the size of the roof, plus a little bit of an overhang, and then take our scale rule and we'll look at whatever size this is. Let's see, this roof is scale about 17.5 feet. So what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll probably cut this to, I guess, probably about a 19-foot piece. And from there, flip it over. Then we'll cut it into smaller individual sheets. And then we'll rust them up. And when we apply it to the roof, what we'll do is we will overlap on edges, probably working from the left and then overlapping, giving that stacked look and laid down look of a corrugated roof. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, so I have a colored pencil here that I'm going to use to mark this out. And like I said, I measured this. It is about 17.5 feet scale. So we want some overhang on the sides. So, and we want to overlap some. So let's say we overlap by an inch on both sides. So let's just cut this to 18 to 19 inches. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to lay this out. And I am going to take just a swag at this, because it doesn't have to be a perfect (19 feet). So got that, and Crap! Where'd my roof go? The magic of television, my roof is back. Which leads me to a tip. Let me tell you something. Painting rusted pieces of paper and a multicolored carpet don't mix. Neither does dropping acetate, clear acetate for windows on a carpet either. Okay, so what I was saying was, this isn't rocket science. Doesn't have to be exactly 19 feet dead on. And the depth of our roof, sorry, is 6 feet. So we're gonna come over here. Use the grid lines here to help us. And line that up. And we're gonna do about, let me check again. Yep, about 6 feet deep. So we're gonna take it to about, say, 6.5 feet deep. And cut this out. Here again, just use this. Well, the reason I'm not worried about being exact with these measurements are, I don't care if this is perfectly square. I can take it and I can square it up if I want to. And not too far off, but in reality, if you're making a roof with corrugated metal, cuts aren't going to be exact. You've seen a lot of old buildings where each piece is just a little bit different length. So when we cut this up, it really doesn't matter to me. So next thing we'll do is we'll cut this paper and we'll cut it out. I want to show you a cool little tool that I got turned on to by Todd Wiley over at HO Scale Customs. It's a Fisker's knife, and it is actually called a finger loop detail knife. Now, I'm starting to get some arthritis in my hands as well. And what this does is gives you a very good holding position for your knife, for your cuts, and it's very comfortable to use. Let's make our first cut. Line this up. As with any cutting, let the knife do the work for you. Don't have to press real hard. There we go. Okay, now we'll trim off the excess. And I really, 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 really love this knife. Now I talked about it in one of my videos where if I'm using a standard hobby knife, standard X-Acto blade, at the end of my cut, I always tend to roll my hand out. Now, I saw a very good video by John over at Schuylkill River Valley, another friend of mine. Very nice person. Go over, check out his video and his channels. He showed how to hold a knife like a glass cutter does. And by keeping it, instead of holding it like this, like a pencil, keep it in between your index finger and your middle finger. And what it does is it gives you the ability to hold the blade nicely, and it also allows you to put your other fingers down on the surface as you cut and gives you some stability. Works very nice. Here's a tip for you. Go over to John at Schuylkill River Valley. Tell him I sent you. Check out his videos. Like I said, I do love this Fisker's knife. It is awesome. Okay, so there we go. So we've made our cut. And like anything else, when it comes to modeling, I am a pack rat. I'm going to keep all my little bits and bobs of all my scraps, because you never know when you're going to want to use it, when you might need something. So the one thing I am going to do is I'm going to use one of the indentations on the paper, and I just trimmed it up a little bit because on the edge there was a little bit of a belly, and I don't think a curve would look natural. A little overhang, a little long, that would look great, but okay. So now let's do a test fit here. And remember, when you're making cuts and stuff, you can always cut your piece smaller, but you can never add. So, okay, it's a hair long. I may trim them. We'll see as we go along. Okay, so let's cut these out. Let's see what we ended up with. This we got 19 feet. So let's see, 18. Let's say we make 4, 8, 11 and a half. Okay, so just gonna flip this over and I'll mark out some spacings. We have a tendency to model in even numbers, and in nature, things don't grow even. You know, you never see 4 plants. You'll see 5 plants. It's more appealing to the eye. So instead of cutting this into 4 sections or 6 sections, I'm going to cut this into 5 sections. So I'm just going to make random lengths here. So, 4. And we'll make this one a bit longer than 8. I'll come over. So that gives me 2. 3. Like, say, here. Here. Okay. So now we'll make cuts here, and this will give us 5 pieces to lay out. So I'm going to take these, and I'm going to go along the ridge. And you'll have to excuse me, because seeing the ridge lines on this, it's a little tough. So let's use the grid lines on our mat to help Square it up a bit. And it's annoying. Okay, that's one. Two pieces. Three pieces. And cut this. They tell you how much I love this knife? Okay. And there we have 5 different sized panels. I'll clean them up a little bit. Okay. Just making sure I don't have any rough edges or rough cuts. Okay, so now that we have all the panels done, we're going to take the AK Rust Effects and we're going to start with the light rust, and we're going to work our way from lighter to darker in the colors. And I'm using a #1 brush here. So just remember, mix your paints well. And just setting everything up. And we'll put out a little paint once everything's mixed. And just using a drop. And I'm going to load the brush up with some water. And I'm going to make a wash. Let's see how this looks. A little bit more water. And I'm just going to go in random streaks, working from what's going to be the top of the corrugated sheets down towards the bottom. So, like I said, I'm just using a wash and just going to do some random streaks here. And again, I'm using the new rust. Actually, like a light rust color. And trying not to make a pattern. I just want this to be totally random. Okay. Add a little bit more here. Damn stubby fingers again. Okay, so now we'll grab the medium rust and we'll apply some of that. Giving a little time here for the first course of rust to dry. And on the corrugated paper, the paints do dry rather quickly, so I'm not going to have to sit here and wait a long time. And add a little bit more water to this as well. Now, this wash is not going to be as thin as the first wash. And there we go. And again, just making random streaks. Some of them I'm just continuing from the other streak, the light rust streak, down, and some of the other ones just randomly across. This is another reason why I like doing the fine scale kits. It really teaches you patience, and you just sit back and you can just zone out, get in your own mind. I know a lot of modelers love to listen to music while they're working. Me, I actually just like it quiet. I can just sit there and get inside my own head and just concentrate on what I'm doing. And you can see with that last piece, I'm just varying everything. Some of the streaks are wider, some are longer, some, again, just total random pattern. Okay, and we'll let this dry up a little bit, and we'll grab the next one, which is the old rust. So you have the light, the medium, and just sitting here mixing up the other paint, making sure it's good mixed because this one was separated. Okay. All right. So you can see here, I'm actually now going to start dry brushing the next few colors on, because I don't want to put a lot of paint down, but just enough. And again, I'm just being random. Some of the streaks I'm just continuing and working over the last color that I just put down. And here is a good example of stubby fingerisms. Now, one thing, again, I had pointed out earlier, in the building of the coal shed, you really should have a picture in a photo reference while you're doing something like this. I had just, I went on, I did an internet search for rusted tin roofs, looked at all of them, picked a couple that I like, and I actually have them just sitting open next to me. And I'm going off the photos and just trying to mimic what I'm seeing. So again, I'm dry brushing this one. And oh no, I'm running out of paint. What am I going to do? So put a little more paint out. A little more on there. Okay, all right. This one looks good to me. And you notice some places I'm leaving open, and other places, I'm doing it heavier. I want each individual piece of corrugated metal to just stand on its own. And then when we put them together on the roof, we will make a hole. Not a hole in the roof, because then it would leak. Hey, I'm not going to apologize for the bad jokes. You paid the admission price, so remember, people, tip your waiters and waitresses. Okay, now we're going to go into the heavy or old rust, and you'll see it's a lot darker than the other three. And if AK could not have made this system any easier. This will be great for rolling stock locomotives. They do have a wide range of color systems like this. So they do make a grimy and oily black and some chipping effects. Now, with the older or heavy rust, what I'm doing is now I'm only hitting the areas where towards the top of the sheets. That's where I want the largest effect of the old rust to be. This is the area that will have taken the hardest hit of water. And let's see. And I'm not using a tremendous amount of paint, just a little bit. And what you don't see is in my one hand, I'm holding a towel, paper towel, so I am dry brushing this a little bit after I put some on the paint on the brush. Taking a wipe or two of it off, and again, I'm just varying everything. Oh no, it hit the floor. That's it. What did I tell you, people, about multicolored tiny pieces of paper on a colored rug? Hard to find. I was lucky it fell buttered side down. So, and did you know that? Did you know that the chances of a piece of bread falling with the buttered side down is directly proportional to the amount of butter that you have on the bread? Okay. So now I'm just going over one more time with this. All right. Okay. Now that we've done the light rust, the medium rust, the heavy rust, the old rust, we're going to move on now to the shadow rust. Now, shadow rust is just exactly what it's called. And there we go. There it is, the shadow rust. So now I'm going to take a number 2 brush and I'm going to do an actual dry brush with this. What I want to do is to get some paint on the brush and wipe off the majority of it. And we're going to brush across and the grain of the paper. what I'm trying to do is just do a light covering. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second here. Apologize for doing that one in my hand, but wipe off some more paint, and you can see I am just gently running the brush first across, and then I'm going to go with the corrugation. Okay, and I'll do this on all 5 pieces here. And the idea here is I'm just using the shadow rust to bring out the highlights of the corrugations. So, not leaving a lot of paint on the brush. You can actually see on those first 2 panels just adding this little touch really brings out the depth and adds a nice 3-dimensional look to the surface. Got to put out a little more paint here. Now, the only drawback to using the AK materials are they are what I would call brutally expensive. I think I paid, I want to say, I found this set for $23 or $24, which for what you get, I guess isn't a lot, but when you're used to buying the craft acrylics that you can find at, like, say, Walmart or one of the craft stores for 50 cents to $1, but you are paying for the convenience because there's no guessing. They've done the work for you with the colors. Now, yes, I could have done some shopping, gotten some oranges, and some different shades of brown. Get like a burnt sienna and a raw sienna and a raw umber. But the stores around me do not carry those paints. And for me to buy them online, I was not going to pay $6 to $7 for a 1.5 ounce bottle of dark sienna and burnt sienna. All right, so now we are going to go with the chipping effects. And the chipping effects is that just exactly what it says. It is to represent the oldest rust and heaviest rust that you find. The actual metal that's actually rusted to the point where it's flaking off and looks like it's ready to crumble. Now, we'll use this sparingly. And to me, sparingly is, that's relative to whatever I'm doing at the time. So, okay, let's take some of the chipping effects. And I'm using this straight. And I apologize for having the doing this out of camera shot because I'm trying to hold it up, and what I'm doing is I am just getting the very tops of the panels, and I'm also using the chipping effect paint to go around the outside of each panel, covering up that white part of the paper from the cuts. And then once the front part of this paper is dry, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to use the chipping effects again to go over any exposed area that will be on the underside. I know that it's probably an area nobody is ever going to see, but at least I'll know that that area is painted. My model, my rules. Okay. So you can see how that really does bring out, again, that depth and that three-dimensional look and feel to the paper. So, like with the other colors, I am just doing this randomly. Still going off the photos that I have as a guide. So, just little dabs here and there, little streaks here and there, some areas heavier. And once I'm done, I am going to arrange these in the order that I want them to be on the roof once I put everything down. And you'll see that I end up choosing two pieces that will be on the right and the left-hand side of the roof. And on those pieces, I'm taking the chipping effects and I'm running it down on that edge. So, that, hey, the owners of this establishment to begin with got a drunk to paint their signs, and while they were at that, they never put any gutters on the roof, so, the edges of the roof are all torn up and they're rusting. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm continuing with using the chipping effects color, and I'm just going around the edges of the paper to cover up any white areas. Okay, so there you go. Almost finished. Gonna pick up a little more paint here. And we'll just do a little bit of dry brushing now with the chipping effects. Add a little more depth. I think it looks good. You tell me. I think it's a winner of a system. Okay, so the only thing left to do is put the chipboard roof on and get ready to start laying down the corrugated strips. Okay, so just a quick little shot of how I painted the underside of the corrugated pieces so you can't see any white underneath the roof. Okay, so here are some shots of the roof as it's shaping up. And I think I'm going to call it quits for this video right now. And thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Ring the bell icon so you can be notified next time I upload a video. And comments, thumbs up are always appreciated. We'll see you next week on Ron's Workbench. On the next Ron's Workbench, we'll put the finishing touches on the Miracle Chair Company. Next week on Ron's Workbench.